Hello students, hope you all are fit and fine and safe with your families. Today we would study a topic electric potential and electric potential energy along with some other subtopics, and this is a part of our chapter electric potential and capacitance. First of all, let us understand what is conservative field. The field of a force is said to be conservative if the work done by the force or work done by the external agent against that force in moving from one point to another in the field depends only on the initial and the final positions, and it does not depend on the actual path traversed by the particle, say a positive charge. To understand conservative field mathematically, let us consider a test charge and a source charge plus Q. Now, if we want to move a test charge between 2 points in the electric field, we need to do work. If we are moving towards the source charge, then the test charge would experience an electrostatic force of repulsion, and we will be doing work against that electrostatic force of repulsion. So we need to show that this work does not depend on the path along which this test charge has been moved between these 2 points. Instead, it depends only on the initial and the final positions. Hence, then we would be able to say that electrostatic field is a conservative field. The electrostatic force of repulsion will be given by, of course, Coulomb's law. But to calculate the work done, we need to take a small distance dr, because the force is not constant throughout the distance between A to B, and as the force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance, the force is variable. That is why we need to take an infinitesimal small distance during which the force may be constant, and hence we could define work during that infinitesimal displacement as the product of force and displacement. So dW will be the work for infinitesimal small distance dr moved against the electrostatic force of repulsion. Now the force and the displacement rather, they are in opposite directions, so the angle between them becomes 180 degrees and cos 180 is minus 1. Therefore dW comes out to be minus F dr, and F is of course product of test charge into electric field, magnitude of electric field. So our work done for an infinitesimal small distance dr will be minus Q naught E dr. Now we need to calculate the total amount of work done in moving the test charge from any point A to point B in the electric field. So we need to integrate these small works which are for small infinitesimal small distances. To calculate the total work, we integrate dW from A to B, and we get minus Q naught E dr integrated from A to B. Now E, which is the electric field due to a point charge, is already defined as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R squared. So substituting the value of E, we get W as QQ naught upon 4 pi epsilon naught into 1 upon RB minus 1 upon RA after performing the integration. This shows that the work done depends only on the initial and the final positions, and it does not depend on the path followed for moving between these 2 points. Thus electrostatic field is a conservative field. Other example of the conservative field is the gravitational field, which is also conservative. Next we see electrostatic potential difference. To understand electrostatic potential difference, which we had already studied in our previous classes, we take a source charge plus Q and a test charge Q naught. Then we take 2 points A and B which are lying on the line joining these two charges, the source charge and the test charge. Now the test charge will experience a force F then we can define electrostatic potential difference between these 2 points A and B, which will be defined as the ratio of work done by the external agent, that is the external force, required in carrying a test charge from one point to another, that is from point A to B, to the magnitude of the test charge. So that quantity will be defined as the electrostatic potential difference. Mathematically, VA, which is the potential at point A, this is the potential of source charge, of course, and VB is the potential of source charge at point B. Hence, VA minus VB will be a term known as potential difference, and it will be defined as the ratio of work done which is required in carrying the test charge from point B to A. And why do we do work? Because we are moving against the force of repulsion. Hence, we do some work against this force. So, W upon Q naught is the quantity called potential difference, and it is measured in volts. Here, the potential at point A is greater than potential at point B, because the potential due to a charge is again inversely proportional to the distance from that charge. Higher the distance, lower the potential. So here VA minus VB will be a positive quantity, whereas VB minus VA will be a negative quantity in case your source charge is a positive charge and your test charge is also a positive charge. Whereas results may vary when the source charge and the test charge have different signs. Now suppose we consider this point B to be at infinity, so then we would be defining a quantity known as potential. That will be then the ratio of work done in carrying the test charge from infinity to any point inside or in the vicinity of source charge or inside the electric field of the source charge. So then VA minus V infinity. V infinity is of course 0. That is, at infinity the potential due to any charge is considered to be 0. So VA is W upon Q naught, which is actually potential at point A. Therefore, we define electric potential or electrostatic potential as the ratio of the work done in carrying a test charge from infinity to that point inside the field. Then potential and potential difference again will be attributes of a conservative field, and they are both scalar quantities. Just as we determined the electric field due to a point charge, in the same way we can also derive an expression for the electrostatic potential due to a point charge. Here Q is our point charge and P is the point of observation. That means we need to know the potential of plus Q at point P. For this we consider a test charge to be moved from point B to A in the electric field of plus Q. At point B, the test charge would experience an electrostatic force of repulsion. Consider few distances, that is the distance between point P and the test source charge is small r. This distance between A and B is dx, and the distance between point B and the source charge is x. So if we write the expression for electrostatic force of repulsion at point B, that would be given by Coulomb's law as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught QQ naught by x squared. Now we need to calculate the work done in moving a test charge through this infinitesimal small distance, that is dx, and we assume that during this distance the force is constant. So hence we could define the work done dW as dot product of force and displacement. Again, the angle between these two is 180 degrees, so we get dW as minus f dx. Hence we can calculate the total work done in bringing this test charge from infinity to a point P, which is at a distance r from the source charge. For that we need to integrate all such small works during which the force was considered to be constant. So integrating this term dW, which is minus f dx, after substituting the value of f, we get work as QQ naught upon 4 pi epsilon naught r. Now we have already defined electrostatic potential as the ratio of work done to the test charge. So W upon Q naught would give us V as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon R. This shows that electrostatic potential due to a point charge is inversely proportional to the distance from that point charge. If we have a group of charges, then due to potential being a scalar quantity, the sign of charges is taken into consideration. For example, if we take 4 charges Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and we need to write the potential due to these 4 charges, then we need to take into consideration the sign of the charges. For example, here Q2 and Q4 are negative, whereas Q1 and Q3 are positive. Calculated the electric field due to an electric dipole at an axial point and equatorial point. We can also calculate electric potential due to a dipole at axial and equatorial point. For this, let us first take an axial point P, which is on the axis of dipole AB minus Q and plus Q. Charges separated by a small distance 2a would constitute a dipole. P is our point of observation, which is at a distance small r from the center of the dipole. If we want to write the potential at point P due to minus Q and plus Q, we would take into consideration the sign of the charge as told earlier, potential being a scalar quantity. So we need to write the potential at point P due to minus Q, that would be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught minus Q upon AP. Similarly, due to plus Q, we would write 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon BP. And after some mathematics, we see that the potential comes out to be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught P upon R squared minus A squared, the same calculation as we did in similar to electric field calculation. So if again this dipole length is much greater than much smaller than the distance r, then this r squared minus a squared can be taken equivalent to r squared. So the final expression for electric potential at axial point is V equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught P by r squared, which shows that potential of a dipole at an axial point is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. This numerical, which is often asked in exams, is given for your practice. Next we see electric potential due to a dipole at an equatorial point. For this, consider an electric dipole AB. O is the midpoint of AB, minus Q is situated at A plus Q situated at B. P is our point of observation, which is at a distance small r from the center of the dipole. Now it is clear that the distance AP can be written as under root r squared plus a squared by using Pythagoras theorem, and this distance AP will be equal to the distance BP. Now we will write the electric potential at point P due to minus Q and plus Q, and potential being scalar quantity, so the algebraic sum of potential V minus Q and V plus Q would give us the total potential at point P. Substituting the value of V minus Q and V plus Q, we see that two similar quantities with a minus sign in between give us 0. So hence the electric potential at any equatorial point of an electric dipole is 0, and this is not same as electric field, because electric field was not 0 at equatorial points. Some questions for your practice purpose are given. You can write down their solutions. Next important relationship between electric field and electric potential is the electric field intensity at a point in any electric field in a given direction is equal to the negative potential gradient in that direction. Let us consider the electric field E along the x-axis due to a point charge plus q at any point. Suppose A and B are 2 points distant x and x plus dx from O, where dx is vanishingly small. Let capital V and V minus dV be the electric potentials at point A and B respectively. Suppose a small positive charge, test charge Q naught, is moved in the electric field from point B to point A. A force F acts on test charge in the direction of the field. Therefore, in moving the test charge Q naught from B to A, an external agent will have to do work against this force F. If this work be dW, then dW is equals to F into minus dx, where minus dx is the displacement from B to A. The minus sign is indicating that the force and displacement are in opposite direction. Then by definition of potential difference, we have dW upon Q naught is equals to V minus in bracket V minus dV. This is the potential difference. Therefore, comparing the above two equations, we get E is equals to minus dV by dx. The quantity dV by dx is the rate of change of potential with distance and is known as potential gradient. Therefore, the electric field intensity at a point in an electric field in a given direction is equal to the negative potential gradient in that direction. The negative sign signifies that the potential decreases in the direction of electric field. Another important topic is equipotential surfaces. As the name suggests, equi means equal, potential at a surface. So any surface where the potential remains the same on the surface would be termed as equipotential surface. And equipotential surface can be drawn around a say isolated charge or a group of charges. Some properties of equipotential surfaces are to be known and the reason behind these are also to be studied. The first one is no work is done in moving charge between any 2 points on the equipotential surface because there is no potential difference between any 2 points on the equipotential surface. So if there is no potential difference, then there would be no work done in moving any test charge between 2 points on an equipotential surface. Similarly, the electric field lines everywhere are at right angles to the equipotential surface. Again, if this does not happen, then there would be work done in moving a charge from one point to another, which will be again a contradiction of the property of an equipotential surface. So electric field lines are necessarily at right angles to the equipotential surfaces. Otherwise, you would get one component of the electric field which is tangential to the equipotential surface, and that would lead to the result that work is done in moving a charge from one point to another on the equipotential surface, which will be a contradiction of our previous point. Again, another property is that when the equipotential surfaces are closer, that means there is less distance between them. In that region, the field is stronger, whereas where they are far apart, the field is weaker. This you will observe when you will draw the diagram of equipotential surfaces due to a group of charges or isolated charge. One more important property of equipotential surfaces is they never intersect each other. Try to find out the reason, which could be similar to the reason behind no two field lines intersect each other. A self-assessment question, which is to draw the diagram for different types of charges or a system of charges. You need to draw the equipotential surface and study their pattern and try to draw them. Here some questions which have been asked in previous board exams are displayed. Go through them and solve them for your betterment. Topic is electric potential energy. The electric potential energy of a system of point charges may be defined as the amount of work done to assemble the system or bringing each of the charge from infinity. It is a scalar quantity and is defined for conservative field only. Let us consider a positive charge q1. Now when we bring this charge from infinity, then at this point there is no electric field present. Neither there is any potential due to another charge, because this is the first charge which is brought at this point. But when we bring this q2 from infinity at a point near q1, then at that point we have potential of q1 already present. That means now this q2 is entering in the field of q1 and there will be force of repulsion acting on this q2. So we need to do some work in bringing this charge q2 from infinity to any point near the charge q1. That work done will be stored as potential energy. Let the distance between this charge q1 and q2 be r. That means we are bringing this charge q2 from infinity to a point which is at a distance r from q1, and at this point already there is potential of q1, that is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 by r present. Now if we write the electric potential, it is defined as work done per unit test charge. So work can be written as product of potential and charge. Since we are bringing this charge q2 inside the field of q1, so we need to multiply q2 with potential of q1 at that point. So q2 into 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 upon r would give us 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r. This work is stored as potential energy and it is denoted by U, that is electric potential energy, is equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r. Similarly, if we have three positive charges, the expression will be written in this manner so that each charge interacts with the other charge and divided by the distance between those two charges. If any of the charges becomes negative, then, or the charge which we have brought is negative, then we need to take into consideration the sign of that charge. So in case one of the charges is negative, then minus sign will be introduced due to the nature of that charge. This is how we will write the expression for potential energy of three charges. In a similar way, we can go on adding the terms, and scalar and potential energy being a scalar quantity, the terms will be added by simple algebra. In the previous slide, we saw the potential energy of a system of two or more charges. Now, there when we brought the first charge, there was no external field present initially, but in this case there is an external field already present and we would be bringing our charges inside that external field. So then we need to do work in bringing the first charge itself, and we will be the potential at that point due to the external field. So we need to do work in bringing the first initial charge, which is not done in case there was no external field present. So let us first bring q1 from infinity at any point r1 inside the field. So then work will be charge which is being brought into the potential at that point. This potential is due to the external field in which we have brought the charge. Similarly, when we will bring charge q2, so now there will be two processes. First is we need to do work in bringing this charge q2 because already there is an external field and that field is having potential at a point say r2. So this q2 into v at r2 will be the work done in bringing the charge q2 inside the external field. Also, where we have brought this charge q2, there is potential of q1 present, and this q2 will experience a repulsive force from q1. So hence we need to do some extra work in bringing this q2 near q1, and that work will be stored as potential energy of these two system of charges. So the work done in bringing charge q2 near q1, which will be also the potential energy stored, will be given as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 upon r12, which is similar to our previous case. So hence the total work done in assembling these two charges inside an external field will be now the sum of all the work done. First, work done in bringing the charge Q1, second, work done in bringing the charge Q2, and third term is the potential energy stored in assembling charge Q1 and Q2 even if the external field was not present. So the total potential energy stored in case two charges are assembled in an external field will be given as this equation. Next we see work done in rotating an electric dipole in an electric field, and this is also the topic potential energy of a dipole in an electric field. Consider an electric field E, and now we bring a dipole from infinity inside this electric field. So when we bring this dipole inside the electric field, we see that work is done on the charge plus Q by an external agent, while work will be done by the field itself on the charge minus Q. But it is clear from the figure that when we bring this dipole inside the electric field, the charge minus Q travels an extra distance of 2a more than the charge plus Q. The dipole moment, which is acting in the direction of the electric field, and there will be a electrostatic force which will be in the direction of the field acting on positive charge and in opposite direction on the negative charge. So these two charges will experience forces, but since minus Q is traveling an extra distance, so the net work done in bringing this dipole inside the electric field will be the product of force into displacement, and force acting on minus Q is QE into the distance, that is 2a. Now here minus sign, because as you see that the force and the displacement, they are acting in same direction, but this work is not done by the external agent. This work is done by the field, and for the external agent the work is negative. That is why it is coming as minus PE. Now the dipole here is in stable equilibrium because the angle between the dipole moment and the electric field is 0. So hence this potential energy U naught will be the potential energy in stable equilibrium. Now suppose we rotate this dipole by an angle theta. So for rotation we need to do some work because the dipole would always tend to remain in stable equilibrium, but against its inclination we are trying to incline it at an angle theta, so we need to do some work. So to rotate we require some torque, and torque is the product of force into perpendicular distance. So tau PE sin theta is already derived. Now this whole angle theta will be divided into small angles, infinitesimal small angles d theta, and work done for rotating the dipole through a small angle d theta will be tau d theta, which will be PE sin theta d theta. To calculate the total work done in rotating the dipole from any angle theta is equals to 0 degree to theta is equals to theta, we need to integrate these small works dw. So w is equals to the total work done in rotating the dipole from 0 to theta, and hence it will be obtained by integrating dw's. So we would get the work done as PE into 1 minus cos theta. Now this work done is stored as potential energy at an angle theta. So here the total potential energy which the dipole will possess at an angle theta will be the sum of its potential energy in stable equilibrium plus the work done which is done in rotating the dipole through an angle theta. So hence we get the final expression for the potential energy at an angle theta as minus PE cos theta, and which can be also written as dot product of two vectors, that is the dipole moment and the electric field with a minus sign. In case our theta becomes 0, then our u will become minus Pe cos 0, and that will be the stable equilibrium. Whereas if theta becomes 180 degree, then cos 180 is minus 1. So hence the potential energy in unstable equilibrium will be Pe. So now if we rotate the dipole from unstable equilibrium to stable equilibrium, then the net work done on the dipole will be twice of Pe, which is a question of research. Next we see some properties of conductors in electrostatic fields, which may be asked as a short note in exams. The net electric field inside the conductor is 0 because no charge can reside inside the conductor. Let it be hollow or even if it is solid, but in case it is a conductor, no charge resides inside it. All the charge resides on the surface. Just outside the surface of the charged conductor, the electric field is normal. Potential is constant inside as well as on the surface of the conductor. So this will be an example that inside the say spherical shell, the electric field is 0, whereas inside the spherical shell the electric potential would not be 0, it would be same as on the surface. So in case sometimes you get a question that if electric field at a point is 0, is it necessary that the electric potential is also 0? So your answer should be no, because electric potential may not be 0 at a place where electric field is 0, and the vice versa is also true. Electric field at the surface of a charged conductor is proportional to the surface charge density, that is E is equals to sigma upon epsilon naught. So here this relationship we already saw in application of Gauss theorem. So we need to remember these points which indicate the behavior of conductors in electrostatic field. Electric field is 0 in the cavity of a hollow conductor is another important point with regards to conductors' behavior in electrostatic field. Some questions of previous year, that is which are asked in board exams, are given for your self-assessment. Please try them out. Thank you. That's all for now.